love history. Did your wife keep her maiden name?
Man, I tried to call you. Did you change your number?
What you wearing? You smell good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Muchos thank you.
Anthony Castrovince of MLB.com joining us for an installment of The Pen is Mightier with some mighty suggestions on MLB.com around the players for whom there's a lot of spring intrigue. Every once in a while, Anthony, when you do a list, we buy a couple of the guys on there. Yeah. But in this case, every one of the players that you've identified.
He actually likes this list.
Well, for very different reasons. That's why. Like, each of these guys you could have a 10-minute conversation on. So we'll try to abbreviate as best we can.
Anthony, usually when you write these lists, we just, this one's good.
All right, I mean, if you want to put words in my
there's
mouth.
a little backhanded compliment in there, I think.
Not at all. Not at all. It just means
that
each of these guys has really, for very different reasons, appears on your list. So let's start with a couple of pitchers. Intrigue around somebody like Nate Pearson of the Toronto Blue Jays, because we saw the potential last year in a very short sample size. We know that the Jays are ready to win. This is a fascinating player for 2021.
Yeah, he was really the talk of the Grapefruit League a year ago in the before times. And then, of course, a lot changed in our world since then, and including for Nate Pearson. He didn't get to have as much impact on the 2020 season as hoped. And part of that was his own injury with the flexor strain. You look at that Blue Jays rotation now as it's constructed. It's kind of all over the place. You have a lot of different outcomes with that particular cast of characters. Nate Pearson is the highest source of upside in that group, but he only threw 18 innings in the regular season last year because of that flexor issue. He did come back, and he did actually look awesome in the postseason in 2 innings of work against the Rays. You wonder now with the innings being, the innings situation being where it is for him and for the industry in general, will he be better suited for the bullpen this year, or will he get stretched out in the rotation? So, high octane arm, and hopefully last year's schedule didn't mess with him too much.
Talk about high octane. A couple years ago, Gleyber Torres was the toast of the big leagues. And all of a sudden, now everybody's got question marks about him. So what are we talking about with Gleyber here?
Well, the Yankees locked in with Gleyber Torres as their shortstop in re-signing DJ LeMahieu, which is, of course, an obvious move, but they're committed to LeMahieu at second base. They're committed to Torres at shortstop. And so he has a lot to prove this year. Last year, Brian Cashman has said he came in a little heavy, a little slow. I think that affected his lateral movement. His defensive metrics were not good. They were lowest 2 percentile in all of baseball among shortstops. So, let's see how he reports and how he looks out there this spring. The job is his. That's obvious. And so this is really more a question that bleeds into the regular season itself. But it would be nice. I'm sure the Yankees would like to see him moving around well and looking good and feeling good. Offensively, he was about an average player last year. There's still a lot of potential there, but they need better defensively. LeMahieu has even declined a bit according to the advanced metrics at second base. So they just need good defense up the middle, and Torres has to provide it.
Now, a lot of people hammered me. I think he's not a shortstop. I think he's a Hall of Fame second baseman. I really do.
You've been saying that for a while.
And so we'll see how he bounces back this year. But I think his future eventually will be back at second. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do this spring.
Let's hit you on another player here, because Shohei Otani appears on your list, obviously because of the skill set, but even more so because the Angels just haven't been able to benefit from his two-way powers in either of the last couple of years.
Yeah, they say no limits on the two-way player skill set, but we've seen a lot of limits on that, right? I mean, you even go back to his last year in Japan. You look at the last 4 seasons, he's pitched 75 to 80 innings total because of a variety of injury issues, most predominantly Tommy John surgery. So last year, he was hurt again, couldn't find the strike zone in a couple of starts. They're committed to trying to figure out if this can work. To date, it has not worked. It worked for that very small sample in 2018, and that was exciting, but it has not worked overall, unfortunately. So at some point, do they have to commit to him as a hitter? I don't know if that will happen this spring. That's another team where, a lot of different outcomes could happen for that rotation. And he, much like Pearson with the Blue Jays, he's their greatest source of upside probably. But, just given the way the last few seasons played out, would it be better at some point in the not too distant future to just commit to him as a hitter and move on?
What about bullpen?
For Otani?
Yeah. You sit there and, because the way they're doing it, it's like, okay, he's going to pitch this day, so you won't hit before that day, and after it recover. Any hitter, you have a tough time with that.
It'd be so hard for a two-way guy to do that because, preparing to be available every day potentially, or in 2 out of every
Or you
3
just
days.
say, hey, here's when you're coming out of the pen. We only expect you to throw 2 innings. Or you're gonna throw an inning. You got the 8th and 9th tomorrow.
It's intriguing, I guess, but I think by means of preparation, it just makes it so hard.
Yeah.
You know, and especially because they're in that every 6-day thing with him now. But that remains to be seen. What about a guy like Dinelson Lamet, who are the Padres counting on any contributions from him this year? By appearing on your list, I'm kind of thinking maybe there's a chance in September.
He could. I know he's ready now. He's throwing now. It's just, he was really the key to their offseason. He and Clevenger. Clevenger out for the year, and Lamet having that iffy elbow at the end of last year. The Padres went big and bold in their rotation as a result. So that's why he's so interesting. He's such an X factor. He could take that rotation to yet another level, but they certainly built a lot of insurance around the possibility of his elbow not cooperating. Last year, he had the elbow issue, was shut down, did not pitch in the postseason. He had the PRP, platelet-rich plasma treatment. He came to camp feeling good with that. But, again, another guy who remains to be seen. Can the elbow hold up? And if it does, the Padres rotation, the sky is the limit with that group, because we saw Lamet last year with an ERA around 2 and 12 starts.
Yeah, I don't know that they're being completely transparent with what they expect from him this year. I think they'd be pretty happy if he contributes at some point, if not on opening day. But let me
find out what Tanaka did all those years.
Keep the elbow from dropping off. Let's hit you with one last player in this discussion, because I just hope it doesn't devolve into this, that the Chicago Cubs' first half of the 2021 season headline is, when will Chris Bryant be traded? I hope that's not what we're going to be following at Wrigleyville all summer. Am I wrong?
I mean, I hate to tell you, Matty V, I think that is going to be a dominant conversation. It's just the nature of the beast. I mean, he's the last man standing among that group where these superstar players who were bandied about in the trade market, Mookie Betts, Nolan Arenado, Francisco Lindor, and, of course, Chris Bryant. I guess you could add Trevor Story to that list, but Chris Bryant is such a big one. His health did not cooperate last year. He only played about 35 games, 644 OPS, so his trade value is diminished as a result, but not to the point where they non-tendered him with the big arbitration salary. The Cubs are picking that up, $19.5 million. Doesn't it appear a blockbuster deal will come together here before opening day? But, that's a team that's going to have a lot of question marks if the offense doesn't, improve substantially. They'll have about 100 games to determine whether or not Chris Bryant is a part of their future. Otherwise, he's obvious trade bait if not.
Anthony Castrovince identifying the players around whom there's the most spring intrigue, and the read is available as always on MLB.com. Anthony, thanks, man.